Hi, and thank you once again for joining the podcast. Today we have Deena Tiessera, who is a politician. She's also an entrepreneur and former Sri Lanka beauty queen. And in a minute, you'll see why she got that title. She's presently serving as the Labour councillor for Aberdeen City Council in Scotland, and she made history by becoming the first woman of colour to be elected to the Aberdeen City Council. Now, she has a very interesting profile on her LinkedIn page, but I couldn't take out everything. And I would advise you to check her out on her LinkedIn page to know more about her. One interesting thing I picked out was what she had on the page, which is "Your dreams are calling you," which was really very good. And I'm sure she had lots of dreams when she became a politician, an entrepreneur, and a beauty queen. So Deena, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me here.
We always start by wanting to know our guest. So when you're not a politician, when you're not doing business or beauty pageants, what do you do? Who is Deena?
Deena is a very sweet girl. She is a foodie. She loves food. She loves to travel to places. She is a girl's girl, loves friends and nothing more than spending time with family. Yeah. When I'm with my family and friends, I'm not the leader that you see in public. I am more vulnerable, and you can see the child at heart.
Okay. And so how has your background or upbringing influenced you? Did you always want to go into politics, or have you had some experience that have, put you down that line?
Politics was never on my radar at all. It came a lot after I moved to Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
So my upbringing was quite strict. My parents were quite strict. My dad was a doctor, and he's no longer with us anymore. And my mom was a former beauty queen and a movie star, so that's where the link of beauty pageants come in my life as well. But for my parents, academia was a very important thing. So performing in school and making sure we got the right grades and going to university, all of us having higher education was very important. My father was the first college educated person in his generation, first person to go to university, and he was born into extreme poverty. So education changed his life and changed an entire generation. He took his entire family out of poverty, and because of that, the importance of education was paramount in our family. Mm-hmm. So I remember a story growing up. I was like 9 years old. From the age of 4, 5, all of us had to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. Okay, study for an hour, and 6 o'clock everyone has to pray. Family gets together in my parents' room. We're all Catholic by birth, and we pray for an hour. We do the rosary and the Bible reading for the day, as well as meditate for 20 minutes daily in the morning.
4, 5?
Yeah.
As in 4, 5 years old, you're that young?
Yeah, I was that young. And I remember one day, I was refusing to wake up. I was a bad kid, right? I got a bucket of water.
Oh, that's so serious.
Yes. So why I want to share this is discipline was a very important part in our childhood and growing up as well. Looking at my dad as well, he became a successful entrepreneur, set up his own private hospital and various other income streams as well. And for him to do that, discipline is what took him over the line. So he would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. While we're studying, he's working out, bench pressing and, doing his cardio. And then we pray and meditate. And then he goes off to work and we go off to school. That was our morning routine. And he comes home at 8 in the night. And we don't always get to have dinner together, but every Sunday, breakfast and lunch and dinner we get to have it as a family. We go to church, and then that's the family day. But education was important, but we had to start at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, so it's obvious that your dad had a huge influence
in
your growing up, your values, education, and also establishing, having that level of discipline.
Yeah.
It's,
I think another important thing is, like from my country, women's education wasn't very important, you know. Girls, educating a girl meant like you're just wasting money because you're gonna, the whole purpose of a girl trying the family is marrying her off. Is that perception there? But for my dad, it wasn't that.
Okay.
So for him, it was like, he always told me growing up, you can achieve whatever you want if you have the willpower to go after it. And he said, whatever you do, just study, just go and study, and like just keep getting anything you want in life. That's what he told me every day.
It's really interesting to know that for some, a lot of people, I think parents have a huge role in building resilience at a very young age. You might not, I mean, we wouldn't have known then what they were doing. I'm sure sometimes we will think, oh, they're being so strict or they're being mean. But it's those early days, the training, discipline that you learn, and later on in life you find out. I'm sure you now reflect and think, yeah, you know, it's good. He did all those things, and you appreciate them better now.
Absolutely. None of my friends had that kind of life, like waking up at 5 in the morning when you're age 9 from 4 or 5 years old, you know, to study.
I mean, it seems obviously now it will seem you're brutal or mean or too harsh, you know, but
but that's what I felt at that time too. I was like, he doesn't love me. Why would I do this? I'm like, 5.
Oh wow, that's really early. 5 years. Okay.
And I remember the day I got the bucket of water, I was crying. My sister was making the morning coffee, and I was seated, next to the kettle because I wanted a little bit of heat because it was early morning. And I was crying, he doesn't love me.
Okay. So what made you leave? So that was your growing up, and thank you for sharing that. I think parents do have a lot in terms of upbringing, the values they instill in their young ones, and those things, believe it or not, it goes a long way to mold the child. And so you grew up in Sri Lanka, right? At what point did you leave to come to the UK to study?
So a lot happened between those experiences as well. That Sri Lanka suffered from 30 years of war. So it was during the war time. I was born into the war pretty much.
Okay.
So my father did a lot of philanthropic work. We went to the war zones many times to work with the war displaced.
I think I've seen one of those pictures on your LinkedIn. Okay.
So we did medical camps and stuff like that in the war zones. We used to do that at least once to twice a year. And then go to rural areas as well, medical camps as well. So growing up, even though we were quite privileged to have a good life, we still experienced that doing a lot of philanthropic work, and good to see the hardship of life as well. So that really instilled like a sense of understanding of people's hardships, and
suffering,
suffering, and compassion and empathy, and to see how people's lives can be changed, actually. Some amazing projects that we did, driver's licenses to improve employability in rural areas. So that was a really interesting project that we did with my dad. Anyway, growing up, came into teenage years and early 20s. That's when I did the beauty pageant.
Okay.
That was a very interesting journey for myself. That really helped me to solidify my identity. Because when you come to the top 12, all girls are pretty. It's no longer beauty that they're assessing on. It's how you carry yourself, your confidence, your personality, and how you put all of that, present yourself in a total fullness, I guess, So that was that. And then I got some movie offers, and then I was trying to convince my parents, okay, maybe go to movies. And then my parents sat me down and said, no, you went to uni.
But your mom acts, right?
Yeah.
She didn't like the idea that you wanted to do that.
I think because education has been such a massive pillar in my family, they thought the best thing to do is go to university.
Okay, well, that's good advice. And your mother supported that as well.
Yeah.
So that's how the whole idea of being an actress just faded away.
My dreams are shattered.
No, they are not. We are coming to what you're doing. So you're doing something more useful, I would say. Okay, so you now left, came over to do your, was it the first degree, was it the master's? Undergraduate in Aberdeen. And so what was your experience like as an international student?
It was very interesting because the United Kingdom, as you know, from our part of the world, like Commonwealth countries, we don't necessarily hear the Scottish accent, you know. We have that sort of like picture in our head, the tea drinking English, you know, Queen's English. So I came with all that expectation. And I remember my first ever, instance, I landed in Heathrow. I looked around, I was like, oh, this is nice. Okay.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. And then I had to go to Terminal 5, I think. Take to the furthest terminal in the corner to get the flight out of the tea.
Terminal 5, yeah.
And the first time I ever got into a domestic flight, I was like, this plane is so small.
Okay, yeah, from Heathrow to Aberdeen. Yeah, okay.
I've gone to other countries before, but you know, you get commercial flights, right?
Yeah.
It's the first time, and the plane was shaking. And I was on my own, and I was just looking out of the little window, and all I could see, I mean, getting close to Aberdeen, it's just green, and I can see sheep, and like we're landing, and I'm like, where am I going? Where's the sea? It's like, is this such a bad idea? And I started crying in the plane. I'm like tied to this like another 4 years now. I don't know. This is what I want. And landed at Aberdeen. And you know, got up the flight stairs.
Shaking, I'm sure. And like, what have I done to myself? What am I doing here?
And the minute I heard someone speak to me in a Scottish accent, I was like,
excuse me?
Then you tend to pay more attention and actually understand what they're saying. So the first couple of days I went to orientation and all that kind of stuff, trying to figure out, navigate the places. And I took a taxi. It's like, what are you doing? You don't take taxis here. Like, you can't take public transport. It's like, actually, understanding all of that, like public transport is safe.
A lot,
you know, it's not like back in Sri Lanka where, you know, for females, public transport is not that safe.
Oh, really?
Okay. So it's safe to take public transport. And the other thing, you're always converting pounds to your own currency.
Your own currency,
yeah. That as well. And then I went to my first lecture. My lecture was Glaswegian.
Another different English. Oh my! So language must have really been a challenge. For you.
Yeah, it intimidated me in a way. Like, how am I going to like pass my exams? It's already a challenge to understand, and it's not that I don't know English. I speak English, but it's quite different. Yeah.
I get what you mean. Okay, so you started, got involved with your program, you enjoyed that. At what point did you start to, I think you were involved in some studentship, roles, right? So could you tell us about that?
Yeah.
At what point in your studentship did you take on these roles?
First year.
First year, just the very first year?
Yeah. So I came in 2011. September 2012 March, my dad got very ill, so that's when it happened. So I was walking into an exam, and I got a call from my mom saying that that's very critical. I was taken back and I was shocked because I had spoken to him on the phone last night, the night before, and he seemed fine and fit and loving, He had a stroke and he was completely paralyzed and he couldn't talk. And he was young, 64 years old, So I tried to walk into the exam and I couldn't perform. And I told the invigilator I just got this call and I'm feeling very anxious. So they took me out and they said, you have to go back home. And I came home and then saw my dad at the intensive care unit and then found out that he's got 4-stage cancer. And that he's got just very little time to live. And it was all very shocking for me at that time because it's completely unexpected news from anywhere, out of the blue. So what happened was I missed exams, and I came back, did a couple of exams, went back again. So then I during the recent period when my father passed away, and I missed those exams during that time.
Yeah.
It was during the exact funeral time period. And but I had submitted all of the documents, according to the academic regulations within 5 working days. Even though it was the toughest time in my life, I knew I had to do these kind of processes to protect myself, because I think they were on a visa, student visa. But when I came back to university, 2 weeks after the funeral, they told me I couldn't go to the following year because I had missed too many exams, and the recent period is now over. That I had to go back, take a year off of university, and then come back again during the recent period of the following year to do my exams. And I was quite disappointed, because for me, my father's biggest dream was education. And I was even more determined to come and perform in my academics as much as possible. Like, the only thing that he wanted from me was this. I kind of fought the university, because for an international student to take a year off means you got to go back and reapply for your visa, which means show funds about £40,000 in the bank.
All over again, like you're starting the process all over again.
Pay for initial surcharge, and it's a hassle. It's a hassle. So I was like, I'm not going to get penalized for something that happened to me. It's inhumane. So I fought the case, kind of protested in the university. And, they allowed me to go to the following year. They especially facilitated 2 exams for me. And, they allowed me to take 2 for the following year, and they facilitated that for me. So I performed very well in the exams. I got A's, all A's, straight A's. Incredible. When I think back, and then I just look at it, and I can't even believe it was me,
And you were still mourning at that time?
Mourning. I think it was part of the grief, maybe, where I just wanted to work. What I can do. And then that was the time I felt, students go through things like this, and it's unfair. I have now got experience fighting the academic board. I think I want to represent students.
And
then I spoke to the student president at the time. She was the first, I think, female black president RGU had. So she showed me the process on getting elected, and that's where I came into student politics in RGU.
Well, that's interesting. It must have really been a difficult time for you.
It was, because you're mourning, and so is your family. So you can't really rely on anyone like your family and everything else.
Did you have friends at that? So all this happened in your first year? And you were just basically trying to settle in and integrate, and must have really been tough. And how the rest of your studentship go? So the second, third, fourth year, did you have any major challenges after the first year? After what you experienced in your first year?
I just focused on getting my academic grades, and I got elected the following year and the following year. There were major milestones that I hit. Got, I think, multiple awards from the Scottish Government for the work I did. And I think I just buried myself in work, really, campaigning for issues like mental health, improving academic experience for students, and then creating a political movement that campaign against discriminatory immigration laws that affected students.
So you did all that as a student?
Yes.
As an undergraduate student?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. What gave you the strength to do that? What gave you the confidence? Where did that come from? Would you say it's the discipline, things you learned as a child?
I think one is passion. And there's drive there too. But the discipline keeps that journey, alive. And once you are in that routine of working, then it becomes a habit.
That's really, really, I think you must have accomplished a lot while you were doing your undergrad. And is that what led up to, I'm thinking that's what led up to, after your school, after you finished your studies, at what point did you go into politics? At what point did you think I could, further my career in this, being a politician or go into politics? At what point did that really hit you?
So, I mean, in the undergrad time period, I served 3 terms as vice president of international student, the international students, and then the political movement, right, the South Asian Students' Union. At this point, I still had no idea about political parties and understanding the structure and the constitution, what values they have, neither understanding of like left or right in politics, because back in Sri Lanka, politics was very different from here, So here it's quite clear cut left and right parties.
Yeah.
But the only party that supported our campaigns was the Labour Party. I was quite intrigued with that. But I still didn't become a member.
Okay.
I still wanted to sit and understand. Scotland's different, they got Scottish National Party. And look at all the debates from previous politicians and understand the policies. Because sometimes what I see is politicians say something else, and then you see their policies coming out just don't tally with each other.
I'm sure you're the one that sees that. Okay. So did you read, you went into what, like doing studying, research, reading, or how did you get information?
Online,
Okay.
reading manifestos.
Oh, okay.
And
So you just took it upon yourself to find out how it works. And at this point, you still weren't sure you were going to go into local politics, no? So was it, you were just curious to know everything? Okay.
It's because one of our campaigns from our South Asian Union was successful.
Okay.
At that time, Theresa May was the Home Office Secretary. She was trying to bring forward a legislation where international students were supposed to pay a £6,000 bond before they come to the country, and when they finish their degree and when they leave, they can take that back. Yeah. So we campaigned against that because, as you know, international students already pay staggering amounts. Yeah.
And it needs to leave a lot of money in the account and all that.
Like NHS surcharges. Well, nothing is free for us here as students, international students. So our campaign was successful. That's when I realized, wow, change is possible. And it's beautiful in a democratic process, It was, I think that kind of gave me the thirst for it,
Okay.
That's when I looked at the parliamentary system, understanding what the Scottish Parliament does, what Westminster does, what House of Lords does, how local government also acts, and then there's another level tier below that, community councils as well. So understanding the remit on each of these, and then understanding political parties and their constitution, and really from grassroots, it's actually beautiful. I even up to date, I say British democracy is one of the most successful and a beautiful democratic system, actually. So, yeah.
You're a strong woman, Deena. So you did all the studying, research, you went finding out, gathering information. You had finished school at this point in time, right?
Undergrad, yes.
Undergrad. And then, so what was your next, for you at that point, what was your next line of action?
At that time, there was no post-study work visa. So, so then I enrolled into a master's degree at Aberdeen University. This is where my involvement in politics actually got even deeper, because Aberdeen University had the Aberdeen Labour Students Association. So I became a part of that. And Scottish parliamentary elections was happening at that time. And I was decided to call with a local member of Scottish Parliament's campaign, Labour campaign. So we ran the campaign, and I got first-hand experience of running the campaign. Well, it was quite amazing. Yeah.
Okay. And then you finished your master's, and you were done with that. What led you to apply? I guess you would apply for it, for the position of councillor.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so I've jumped something. What have I jumped? What have I missed here?
So after my
master's,
I had to apply for a PhD.
Okay.
While I was doing my PhD first year, I got involved. I became a member of the Labour Party, and I engaged in a lot of leadership programs. I was mentored by the former leader of the Scottish Labour Party, or female leaders, Kezia Dugdale. I was in Parliament, spent a lot of time understanding how the debate room works and what happens behind closed doors, political strategizing, and including how to deal with media, and actually all of these little games that they play in the political world. It was quite interesting for me to learn all of that. So I then got elected as the vice chairwoman of my constituency for the Labour Party. Ran election after election after election because that's what Britain has faced in the last couple of years. And I took the 10-year route to becoming a permanent resident in the UK.
Okay, yeah.
So, yes. And it was only, I think, a month before the final date for the nominations for local government elections was when I was granted leave to remain, indefinite leave to remain. So as a Commonwealth citizen, you don't need to have your citizenship, but you need to have your ILR, indefinite leave to remain.
Before you can campaign
Before
for
you
any
can stand.
political position.
Yeah. But to vote, you don't need that.
Yeah. The Commonwealth, yeah, definitely you don't need that. So that came right on time and you decided to go forward to do the campaign.
First, you need to get nominated from the party, which was a whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And I faced challenges there as well.
And that's what I'm about to ask because you're the first minority woman to hold that position, councillor in Aberdeen City Council. Definitely, I know you would have faced lots of opposition, challenges. You could tell us one or two, a few of them, but more importantly, I want to know how you managed to not let those things affect you. How those things didn't drag you down. Why you didn't like it? Because I know some people you've gone that by. I know it's going to be tough. Number one, you're not even British, you're a migrant. So I can't even begin to imagine the sort of pushbacks that you must have faced. So we'd like to share one or two, but more importantly, what kept you going? Why didn't you just pull out the plugs and I can't do this anymore?
I've heard, I don't know, maybe a celebrity giving this quote in a award ceremony, maybe, where they say that, where she's saying, if it is God's plan, who is it to stop it?
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So for me, challenges were not just being a person of colour, but being a female and being a migrant as well.
So, let me get that. So the challenges you faced was not because you were not white, but more because you were what? A female?
No, I would say I would call it an intersectional issue.
Okay.
Where I am a person of color. I wasn't born
here, and
so I'm not considered as local.
Yeah.
I'm a female.
So being female, being a migrant or non-British or foreigner.
And a person of color.
Yeah.
As well as I'm young.
Age as well. So all three. Okay.
All four is our intersectional.
Yeah.
Because when all these four comes into place, because people have this whole perception about what leadership looks like, that just goes against everything that it stands for. Like a politician here is a white middle-aged man. That is the cookie cutter,
Yeah. The theory, I know that theories that I know. I teach leadership, so I know that.
Absolutely.
That's the perception. Yeah, that's the view. Yeah.
So when a person like me came forward to talk about things like, there was a question about viability. Will she get elected? Is she electable? Is the question. Can she be taken seriously? Can people think that she can lead? These are all the questions that came. And then within politics, I'm sure this is an issue that is faced in many countries. I'm sure when you go into political journey, people would say that there are people who have been in the game for so long. There's a problem when new people try to enter.
Yeah. Threat of new entrants. Yeah.
I think that was a big problem in my case, because I won the nomination and it was withdrawn from me. I won it fair and square, and I was withdrawn from me. They were given different reasons were given where these reasons had not held up in various other situations. So but I had to rerun again, and I won my nomination back.
Second time.
I say I won twice.
Yes, you did actually.
I did.
Yeah, you did. Okay. The views of leadership, I know things are changing, but I think slowly. But what intrigues me is sometimes you still have to fight your way, you know. There are so many odds that are against you, which I think you did your own fair share of that, fighting against the odds. So what would you say was your lowest point, your really lowest point in this your journey? A point where you thought, I don't think I can go ahead with this. Did you ever get to that point?
I mean, when I lost my nominations, because I felt it was injustice, you know. I mean, I'll give you a good example, being in the beauty pageant industry and that arena, I've learned to take criticism with a bit of thought. I don't, I've built thick skin because you're on the microscope and everyone's critiquing how you look, your body, to every little bit, right? So for me, I didn't really care about people's opinions about me per se. So that made me a strong person. However, when there's injustice, that's happened to you, and when you can't stand up and speak up because that will threaten your journey going forward, that can be soul breaking. But I had very good mentors around me. I have a very strong team of supporters around me, which I believe every politician should have. And those people, I mean, they're former politicians as well. Those people always really brought my spirit up. That simple word of encouragement can completely, deafen all of these other things. Yeah. So then again, that's like the support, having a support network, or maybe in your case, you could also say mentor, having mentors and good mentorship. So people that are there to, in your lowest moment or when it really gets difficult, people are there to encourage you and uphold you, and absolutely, that gives you the strength. You also mentioned the thick skin, which I think it's interesting. I love that soft but thick. Talking about resilience, I think at some point you need that. You need to have that thick skin. Yeah. If not, you just break. Yeah. You need to allow, you need to be able to allow words to just pass through you but not remain in you. Yeah. It's about not, I mean, this is a great journey that I took in leadership. I say that leadership, politics, entrepreneurship, they're all spiritual journeys because you learn a little bit about yourself. Yes. Every little step you take, right? Yeah. So for me, I think that thick skin part came from understanding how to take things personally, to look at things objectively, and then what I then started to do is actually just find it funny. Humor. Yeah. I like that. No, that's also good. Humor. Put a bit of humor in everything, and I think if you learn to do that, then you won't take things too personal. Yeah. Yeah, I know what hurts people. Some people are a bit more sensitive than others, but if we learn to sit back and laugh over some of these things. Yeah, laughable. Yeah. You do. You definitely do laugh a lot. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for that. You definitely have gone through a lot. What other coping mechanisms? So you've mentioned quite a few, like the thick skin, having mentors, a support group or network. You have to have a whole other life out of your profession. It's very important to have that. A lot of politicians I know, unfortunately, just politics is everything. Everything they just have, okay. So when you come home, you talk about it. Even in your friend groups, you talk about it. So they never get out of that headspace. Yeah. Life, and you need your friends, and you need your family, and just to sometimes all you need to do is just laugh. Make some nice food and just sit and laugh and take your mind off of things. So what happens is like your career doesn't become your whole life. It's no longer do or die. If this works out for me, it's great. If it's not, world is my oyster still, I think that's a very important way of looking at things. Yeah. And probably that's what you were doing, which worked for you. So we didn't hold on to it and say, I need to get this at all costs. I still had my education to go back on. I could have made a career out of that. Still in beauty industry, I don't know how long. I don't know until we went the age is a certain there's limitation on it. But there's so many different things. Entrepreneurship, there's so many different things you can do.
have done. Yeah.
All you need to do is find some passion. But if it's God's plan, that's it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, self-care is a very important thing. I invest a lot in self-care. That means, running a salt bath, just walking on the beach, listen to a podcast or some music.
Giving yourself TLC. That's what it's called.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You have no idea how much that energizes your soul. Giving that time yourself. Yeah.
I want to pick up on something you've been saying, just to get clarity or to add to it. So yes, you've been saying if there's a quote or an actor or an actress said something about, if it's God's plan, no one can stop it. I absolutely agree. But if you don't put yourself out there, even if God has a plan for you and you're not ready to, step out, I don't see how that plan is going to unfold in your life. You get what I mean? So I think for you, because you actually put yourself out there, you took, I would say, risk.
Yeah.
Because it is, fairly risky, challenging, it's tough, and very bold.
Yeah.
Coming into a place you barely know the tradition or culture, custom, but you get upon yourself to read, to study, to get information, to equip yourself. You put yourself out there, and then, of course, God's plan can now unfold in your life. So you're putting yourself, stepping out, pushing yourself, it's also you could. So part of being resilient.
Absolutely. You God has a plan for you. You have a part to play in it.
Yeah. That's beautifully said. Okay, so you were former co-founder of, I think, a group. Wow, that's good. Yeah, with migrants. I want to ask, based on you must have done a bit of or saw a lot of interaction with international students and migrants, and you would have very good knowledge of what challenges they face and the difficulties that they encounter. What would be your advice in terms of building resilience for this particular group of people? So people that come into the country, I mean, you've been there, you've gone through it. So based on your experience, what sort of advice would you give someone?
I want to give advice in different areas. For example, you come here paying a lot of fees.
Yeah.
So I want to give the advice of making the most of it. And that is not only performing academically, but making the network and the connections. They're the ones that last long. So most students that come, they tend to gather with their own kind from the students from the same country. I would say that participate in student societies, make networks from different students of different countries, because that is what's going to help you if you want to do international business, in doing trade deals and stuff like that. That has helped a lot. If you see alumni student contributions in the UK, that's a big part of it, and getting jobs as well. And the second one is academics. This is a difficult one for students. Not only the fact that they are completely starting in a different system. The assessing process is different. The examination process, we got the assignments, we got the referencing.
I know, right? Referencing, writing reports, critical thinking.
Exactly. Which I believe it takes some time to adjust to that. So you need to be able to use all the student resources and services that the university provides. There's free, I'm sure most universities do, there's free classes that you can take, whether that's statistics or how to use Microsoft Word even, for example, anything for that matter, to use those softwares and stuff like that, right? So that as well. And the other one is immigration. You need to be up to date on what's happening so that you can plan your next move. And building resilience with mental health, I think, is a very important part for international students as well. Like my own story of losing my father during my journey. So I think using counseling services, making friends, and actually getting up and getting out of the house. I know it's cold outside, but that helps as well, you know.
Counseling services, do you think lots of international students make use of such services?
Absolutely.
In my opinion, exactly, I don't think so.
And I'll give you the reason why. Because in the countries that we come from, mental health is not taken seriously. It's looked as like, are you crazy?
Yeah, crazy, you're weak,
Exactly.
or yeah, you're not strong enough. Okay.
So we're all new to that.
Yeah. So no, good advice, and I hope people listening would take note of it. I know they don't use such services, the counseling services, the mental health, and like you rightly said, it's coming from their culture. It's not something that I think it's something that they would hide.
Yeah.
The kind of shame to say I'm having this problem. So it's a whole. It has to do with reorientation. Orienting your mind, your mindset, which will take a while for an international student. But I think what you've done is really, really great. I mean, hearing your story from waking up at early hours of the morning, 4 or 5, the way your dad has brought you up, and then saying no, you need to get an education, coming over here in your first year having that terrible, tragic news, and you turned that around. So even you went for the burial and everything, and you came back. You used that, I think, based on what you had gone through, you kind of turned it around to say, okay, I've gone through this thing, and that means there'll be more people, doing it. And you use that, turn it to a positive thing in some way. I think that's what you did. Use your experience, and turn it to something positive for the community.
I fought a lot of international students' cases in academic appeals who failed exams, who missed exams. So many of them. And they were all very, very various reasons, and they were all very valid reasons. Family members sick, financial issues. Financial struggles are massive because it all implicates your visa status. The minute your CAS is withdrawn, that's it. You get like a certain amount of days to stay back up and leave, And the problem is it's not about leaving, it's already the amount of money you invested to that journey, And then when you convert the money to our currency, it's millions. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So the pressure on performance in academia as well, that's what pressure as well, because, some parents have sold properties or houses and cars to be able to
send
the education here.
Yeah.
So the pressure to perform is very high.
Thank you so much, Deena, for sharing your story, and I believe that you will do lots of good things and make good positive impact, using your role as a councillor in Aberdeen City, Scotland, and who knows where you're going to go from there. Maybe you go to Westminster or something. But we're vouching for you. Thank you so much. And that's all we have for today. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.